again, we know they say this was the year of exposure, and it's only going to get worse. And it's sad because these people do these things and think they'll get away with it. And that's the thing. And it's like, but it's sad because it's like you'll get away with it for 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 years. Some cases you think you'll never get caught. And it's like, I will feel bad when if I stole a candy bar and the conviction, even if I got away with it, the conviction was just have me like, so for people to do some of these things and just keep on going is insane to me. But
they got R. Kelly.
mental health or wellness person, and your LinkedIn content ain't looking too good, and you worried about if I'm gonna get the clients I'm looking for, or you need some white papers done or some articles done that you haven't had done, and some PR articles, and you may just need something to tighten up on, or somebody to do that for you, and it's lacking because you don't have it, a newsletter to push out to your clients, and you just don't have it, and you're not going to get the results you wanted because you don't have it done. Of course that's going to happen, but it can be changed if you reach out to me, Izzy Baker, for your mental health and wellness content. If you need anything done as far as white papers, articles, if you're in the podcast and YouTube description, anything social media written for you, your LinkedIn is really important. If you need that, I know I got the recipe for it. If you need anything like that done, reach out to me and we can get something going with that. What's going on, everybody? 'Tis the season. Well, not for much longer, but I can't say Merry Christmas because Christmas is over, but that's okay because we still got New Year's, and a lot of us got a lot of things planned, I would think. I hope. Some of us traveling, some of us staying in the house. I mean, whatever you think is best for you, But yeah, still kind of just moving around and grooving around. Now, it was pointed out that somebody noticed that I had wore my do-rag last night. I like that because at 30, a lot of people going bald. Not me. I can show you the pictures. So that's good to hear. I like to hear that. All right, y'all. So let me give a quick breakdown on what didn't happen. So now I had an episode set up based on something that happened to me a few weeks ago, and I was going to do a solo episode over it. And so since this same topic will carry over into next week, because this is going to be a unexpected two-parter now. That one episode with the solo episode will be the same topic, more in depth and more of the case study as I do when I'm alone, as well as me going in depth as to what happened to me. So if you hear maybe a few of these verses and things carried over to the next week, you know why. Let's get into this week's meme. The meme for this week reads, "Why am I chasing the bag when God told me the bag is supposed to chase me?" Inspiration comes from a few places. So the first, which these two will go over into next week for sure. The first one is Deuteronomy 8:18, states that it is Lord your God who gives you the power to gain wealth. Proverbs 10:22 that says the blessing of the Lord maketh rich and addeth no sorrow with it. And then a quote by Rob Wilson that says, secure the bag, create the life you desire by managing your money like you mean it. All right. Okay. So not going to hold you over too long, but let's get into this week's happy hour. Now, for this week's happy hour, I'm not going to say too much because, I understand the holidays was yesterday, but I'm going to go ahead and let y'all know. The combination of Thanksgiving in between and Christmas, not me. Y'all done ate enough. Don't eat nothing else. If you don't eat nothing else for the rest of the year, I'm sure you'll be okay. Just saying. Can't say I never tried to help you. And also, you know what else I think is interesting? The Black Fridays deals, the after Christmas sales, none of them are the same. They think they're doing something, giving you 10% off, 20% off. What happens to the deals where you used to be willing to fight, break your arm trying to get a deal? You know what I'm saying? Get a TV. Everybody got a flat TV now. Back in the day in the 2000s, that was a thing. So now everybody TV flat now. But, now it's like these deals is trash, I guess, because it is man-made recession, because it is man-made. I don't care what they tell you, it is man-made. And I don't care, call me conspiracy theorist, but it's crazy how they giving all these money and all this money to all these different countries, but then your country's struggling. What sense did that make? It makes me think of the phrase when it says, you pouring from a empty, you trying to pour in the other cups, but yours is empty or something like that. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that. And it's just interesting how the money is working the way it is. But you know what? I hate to be that guy, but I'm gonna be that guy. They're trying to do the one world currency. It's already trying to set. It's been setting up. It's gonna happen. I wish I was into investing because I really want to get into like Bitcoin and things because I hear a lot of good stuff about it, and that's gonna blow up if it ain't already. So I need to get into that. I need to get into that. But back to Christmas and holidays, yeah. There are a few good deals at some of these sites. Now, it depends on what you look for. Amazon will always have a deal, but it's a video. It's on Netflix. I'm gonna watch. You know what? That's my homework. I'm gonna watch that video and I'm gonna discuss it next week. It is called. Dang, what is it called? It's called. Hold on. I'm gonna look it up right now. It's something on Netflix about shopping. Let me see. It's a movie. It's a new movie and it's a documentary and it's fairly new. And I seen it on TikTok, and this lady was like, this lady, she my age, she's a lady. Anyway, she when I say lady, I think like an old person, but she like, this girl, she was just talking about it, and it was basically a video about how they're tricking you with these shopping methods and these marketing. And she was just made the comment about like it made her not even want to shop anymore. So I was like, well, do what you got to do. But I definitely want to check that out. I can't, it's not my phone not loading up right now. I'm acting like I'm on a live stream today, y'all. I'm tripping. What was I about to say? I think that's it for my rant today. When I figure out the name of the show, I'm gonna get back to y'all. But right now, my stuff is tripping. Okay, so I have a great guest today, y'all. So, here it is. It's called Buy Now, the Shopping Conspiracy. There it is. That's gonna be my homework for next week. But all right, y'all. So I have a great guest today, somebody who is an advocate for finances and helping entrepreneurs who feel burnout. As a full-time entrepreneur, it can come about. Even if you are a person who will have a 9 to 5 for the rest of your life, you're still gonna need to do some type of entrepreneurial something. So if nothing else, this will be the the help with that. If you are in a burnout, this will help with that. And if you are just looking to learn something new, especially when it comes to just how entrepreneurship is, this episode is for you. So let me go ahead and introduce my guest and let's get started. How's it going?
Izzy, what a pleasure. We're gonna have a good time. I could just tell already.
I know, right? I know. And so again, thank you, y'all. So we were supposed to record yesterday. Some things kind of, came out the woodwork, but everything is good now. But before I get into that, just how are you today?
I am blessed. I'm blessed. I survived Christmas.
How was it for you?
It was good. My babies, my husband and son, they are New York City, and so they're raising hell over the Big Apple. So it gave me time to cuddle with my daughter, aka my Chihuahua.
Well, I still say, well, New York is one of my favorite cities, but I want to go around the Christmas time just to see it in person. I hear it's not as great as it looks, but then I feel like I would need to see for myself. So,
well, it depends on the borough that you're in.
that
Alicia Keys and JC always screaming about Manhattan and Midtown, right. But there's a rumble in the Bronx. It depends on where you go.
No, for sure, absolutely. I know all about that. So, all right. So we getting into it like we've been cool, but let me introduce you. So to people, obviously on YouTube can see your name, but for my audio people, can you tell the people what's your name, where you from, and where you live now?
Okay. Yeah. Hey, my name is Denise G. And I am originally from the Washington, D.C. area, but I now live on the outskirts of Austin, Texas area. And what I do is I am a healing and leadership coach, was a fancy way of saying I'm a life coach for business owners and entrepreneurs. And what I do, I've been doing it for over 10 years, is helping you get out of your mind and the sense of understanding the hurts, the hangups, and all the things that prevent you from being a rock star entrepreneur, leader, business owner.
Okay. And all right, so good. So now can you share how your journey of becoming a healing and leadership coach came about?
Well, just like everybody, we stumble and fumble our way into greatness, right? So, from in my situation, what happened was I was transitioning out of doing originally personal training. When I was doing that, I actually had a good business in DC area. Came to the Texas area. I was like, what am I going to do? And I remember everybody talking about business coaching online, especially on Meta. You go get yourself a certification, a Facebook, I should now say Meta page, and you're good to go. Come to find out, I was really bad at talking to people about business coaching, but I was really good about talking to people about understanding themselves, understanding why they weren't good at doing business. And actually, it was a better fit for me. For me, what I really realized in the course of my own journey from doing different business ventures was that every time I was just chasing the coin, I was actually going broke in the process. But when I was actually leaning into the things that actually made me me, I was actually richer mentally, emotionally, physically, and then obviously then financially. And that's the kind of counterintuitive thing that people don't really understand, is that if you're just searching for things that you see in front of you horizontally, you will miss out vertically.
With that, I find interesting because there are so many people who have passions and goals.
Mm-hmm.
And I get we have to make money. And even before
Mm-hmm.
I, am where I am now, I was an educator, I was a teacher. So I had my teaching job, but I was still podcasting, I was still doing my ghostwriting. And the thing is, I think so many people get caught up in trying to get into new endeavors and new businesses that make a lot of money, but it's not your passion. Me, I'm different. I learned at a very young age. If I don't love something, I'm gonna do the bare minimum. That's me. Everybody's not like
Mm-hmm.
me. So me, I know the difference. Like if I'm giving it the bare minimum, if I'm trying to make an excuse not to do it, go ahead and let this go. But a lot of people will put their all into things like, I knew somebody they went into nursing because it makes a lot of money. They don't like nursing. They end up always calling off, and now they going into this. Now they trying stuff with computers. It's like, okay, do you actually like computers? Well, I'm good at it, but do you love it? Because at this point, you're wasting your time when you have passions you love, but you say, well, it's not gonna make money right now, or it's going to take a long time. That could take 5 years. And I had somebody, even with that, I was talking about that with the podcast thing. I know a girl, she's a great podcaster, but she took off and she was just like, well, I'm trying to go to dentist school. And I said, well, you can still do your podcast stuff, and she was just like, well, that could take 5 years and I need money now. And it's like, so you're okay, and this may sound mean, but we got to go there. You're okay with being average the rest of your life than to be average for a little while and grind a little while so that you can live abundantly. So my question to you is, what would be your response to somebody who feels like, I want to do this, I want to follow my passion, but it's not going to make money right now, and but they're trying to do other things that they think is going to make a lot of money?
I read a lot. I know everybody who obviously is into self-discovery and personal development should read a lot. This is a given, right? And one of the things that I really loved was from the book Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers book. And everybody talks about it takes 10,000 hours or 5 years. And they're like, they kind of shoot that term around, like, where did that come from? Well, it came from Michael Gladwell's Outliers book. And then the point I'm trying to mention in this book is that why 10,000 hours, right? Think about it. You got to undo 18 plus years of societal conditioning, 18 plus years of influences from your friends or family, internal messages of what you're supposed to be doing, right? it takes more time to refine and refocus and pivot into things that really zero into your strengths, right? Highlight your strengths, minimizes your weaknesses. All that stuff takes time. And if you're just hungry for the coin, if you're just hungry for validation, 10,000 hours might as well be 10,000 years. Let's just be real about that.
Yeah.
So this issue of like, okay, what am I really doing and why am I really doing it? You need those hours. You need that time to really test your mettle. And a lot of people don't want their mettle tested because they don't want their soft underbody side being exposed for all to ridicule and it be condemned, right? But when you think about it, that's foolish because you're going to be judged anyway.
Yeah.
You're going to sit there, fluff your me. I got a fro. I got to fluff my pig. Oh, I got one side of my hair a little too high than another. Someone gonna make a meme about me and judge me on a TikTok reel or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you are preoccupied with image management, if you're preoccupied by just feeling secure, don't bother being a business owner. Don't bother because you will be judged no matter how good your intentions are. So all those hours are necessary for you to wake up every day and say, am I really doing this? And here's why. And it can't just be for feeling good about yourself. It has to be for a bigger mission.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I hate that it's easy to be that way in this world. And we will talk about that a little later too. The world that kind of forces us to be obsessed with money and to get this money because, the songs that we listen to. There's always a raise on some prices. Groceries are astronomical. The society, we see so many of these people that we look up to and these virtual mentors that we created in our heads who are these rich billionaires, but what, and hundredaires and thousandaires, but what did they do? And that's the thing. A lot of them did do things. And like I said, and I do want to get into investing and all that stuff. But my logic is we're a generation where we like to try to shoot everything at once. We got the gun. We trying to shoot all over here versus if we just zero in on one target first, then get that, then go to the next. I don't want to go to the next thing until I can honestly say I am a master, not an expert. I want to be the master in ghostwriting. I want to be the master in podcasting. Then, okay, let's add something else versus trying to add 5 things and you're a rookie and everything. And you're just doing it just to, like you said, for an image reason. And now you're like, oh, I do this, and this. That sound good. Long gone are the days in our community, especially as Black folks, where we, especially the older ones, to get caught up in titles and, oh, I did this and I did that. But what do you have to show for it besides a title? Not much. Okay.
Izzy, I just have to jump in. I was listening to some of your episodes before we had this conversation. I remember you brought on this one lady. She was a doctor, right? And then behind her, she had her book and she had all this stuff and it was all self-promotional. And I was laughing listening to what she was saying because it was totally incongruent from what her message was. We're always talking about fleeing from things that create anxiety, create a sense of not like neurosis, right? But then we're actually pumping out and creating that energy that perpetuates it. If you are good and solid with who you are and your message, you don't need props around you. Your voice, your energy is all you need.
I think, but again, that's just unfortunately the world we live in. It's just, and it's sad because so many people get caught up in it and don't realize it. And I think that's the issue too.
I mean, like, my thing is, if I'm going to be listening to somebody, I want to be listening to somebody that's walking the talk, they're getting down and gritty and nasty with what they're about, right, even when the spotlight's not on them. And if this world perpetuates that, it's like the king with no clothes. Yo, he's naked. He's not finely dressed. He's naked. Call it out.
I think some people are, this is definitely what we are about on this podcast, is calling it, you calling it out, owning it. Like I said, I used to say I went viral a little bit, and I got a lot of flack for it a few last season when I said, you know, a lot of y'all women talk about Sexy Red, and Sexy Red said she owns. She said, I am a hoe, and a lot of y'all will say I'm not a hoe. I'm sexually fluid. It's like it's okay. Just own it. It's okay. You was a hoe. You still are, maybe. I don't know, but that's okay. Just own it. This judgment-free zone. Well, you know what that meme going around? We listen and we don't judge. It's okay. It's okay. I promise. So people will respect you more, even if they don't tell you that, when you just tell the truth and stop making excuses. My next question was to ask you about, was hustle culture ever part of your story? But you kind of answered that already.
I was. I was all about that coin. Just think about it. You are a product of what you consume, right?
Right.
I'll give you an example, right? And it just happened recently. So I'm sitting there, I'm doing this workout routine, right? This yoga routine. And I remember listening to the teachers, the yoga instructors. These are my favorite songs. And there was all these songs about Heartbreaker by Eric Carey. All these other songs like, you know, you can't, a man is not good enough for you. Like she's listening to all these songs. And I'm wondering why she looks unhappy despite her smile.
Right.
Because she's meditating and reflecting back all the things that you consume. So if you're thinking about hustling and wanting money, you're basically reflecting back, I feel insecure, I don't feel validated, and I need what I believe status will provide. And it's a lie.
Definitely. And I said, and like, unfortunately, it was so many videos that talk about our community in general that really gets lost in the sauce when it comes to status and what you have. And it was an old clip. It was like from the 50s. It's like how to control the Negro. And I saw it on Instagram recently, and I was just like, that's us. Like it's crazy. And that was over 60 years ago now. I'm like, that's us. What is one misconception about success you wish more people understood?
I got a lot, but I'm just thinking about on my mind. Yeah, we could sit and talk about the whole episode about that. One of the things that I find very fascinating to me is thinking that influence is a form of success, when it actually is a double-edged sword. Think about right now, Sean Puff P. Diddy Combs, whatever his new moniker is sitting there enjoying the mistletoe with a 500-pound man named Bubba, hopefully not in the shower stall right now, right? And he had all the influence. He had connections with A-list celebrities, right? He could offer up $49 million, right? In terms of for his a bail bond. But he's sitting in jail. What did that influence pay him?
Nothing.
People need Black folk need to understand that just because you're sitting up there with a gold chain, a bottle of Chris in your hand, that you got everything together. It is a lie designed to market you out of your money because you're not willing to deal with the inner crap within yourself. So you think and you glamorify stuff that you don't really understand how the game works.
And what I will say is, and we've seen a lot of it, and again, we know they say this was the year of exposure, and it's only going to get worse. And it's sad because these people do these things and think they'll get away with it. And that's the thing. And it's like, but you know, it's sad because it's like you'll get away with it for 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 years. Some cases you think you'll never get caught. And it's like, you know, I will feel bad when if I stole a candy bar, and the conviction, even if I got away with it, the conviction was just have me like, so for people to do some of these things and just keep on going is insane to me. But
they got R. Kelly.
Right.
See, but it's the culture. I hate to say this. I do not want to sit here and say that all rap hip hop culture is full of debauchery, because we know that there's Christian rap. We know that there's other common. We know that there's other artists that are promoting a higher level of consciousness. But unfortunately, what sells today is flesh.
Yep.
Has and always will be. And so they're appealing to the lowest common denominator. but people are not wise enough and understanding that that will actually rob you blind emotionally, physically, and spiritually if you never questioned it.
Man, I ain't even got to the main stuff and we already here still. So okay, but I got a few words I want you to I got a few words I'm gonna name and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
The first one is hustle.
Trap. It's a
The
trap.
sec the second is success.
Needs to be defined.
And the third one is chase the bag.
Obstacle.
Okay. So the definition I have for hustle is obtained by forceful action or persuasion. And the sentence they use actually included somebody from New York, and it included a record label. That was crazy. And then we talking about all this. Success, there are several, but the one I use for this is the attainment of fame, wealth, or social status, because that's what people think success is. And then we have chase the bag. It just says to work hard for the money, and that's by Urban Dictionary. All right, so now let's move into my next segment for today, which is what does this have to do with mental health? So before we get into that, I have another question I want to ask. So if you were to you said trap already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you were to define hustle culture, we could just already just plug it in for you. You said it's a trap.
Yeah.
I would agree. And I could ask you, why do you think it's so deeply ingrained in culture? I'm sure you would say media. I'm sure you would say, and we can break that down to rap and to social media and to all these things. How do you, because I can't really ask you how because you already kind of said it. So my question I can ask is, what is some ways that we can break free from that matrix?
Okay. Okay. So I spat out some one words, but let me just like a little tease out hustle, right?
Yeah.
It is the purposeful, consistent focus to obtain goods and services above the expense of your mental, physical, and emotional well-being.
Okay.
Okay. That's the hustle at the expense of all. So here's the thing. If you all about hustling, just hit the pause button, stop this right now, and switch on a tape of DMX. I don't know, whatever. Nothing I have to say will change what your pursuit.
Right.
Okay. But if you believe that the hustling is actually causing you to feel numbed emotionally, meaning that you are all about that coin above all else, you're valuing things and you're using people instead of using things and valuing people. If you believe that you can sleep whenever, you'll sleep when you die. I've heard a lot of people with the hustle mentality. I'll sleep when I die. No, you'll get cancer before you die. No, you'll have broken up relationships before you die. There's always the space of all these things that happens before you die as a result of the hustle culture. So what I really want people to understand is ask themselves, what is the real cost of the hustle culture? Because a lot of people are glamorizing and minimizing the impact of what it's really doing to you and the people around you.
I remember even back in the day when I used to go with my dad to he used to be a coach. And I remember going into one of his gyms, one of the, the weight rooms, and I remember seeing up on the one of the banners, and it said, "I'll sleep when I'm dead." And at the time, I just thought that was so. I was like 4 or 5, maybe 5 or 6. And I just thought that was just so like, hard worker. You are just a hard worker if you do that. Oh man, I'll sleep when I'm dead. But it's just funny because you'll be dead a lot sooner. And you see those cases of those people that look great and never take rest days and constantly take an energy drink every single day. And then it's like you look great, but then you find out you have all these problems later. So, I with you working with your clients, and your
Yes.
goal is to get them out of that mindset, that hustle culture mindset, that, we've seen it. It has impacted us, so we don't even have to go off of what we heard. We know from experience how it's impacted us. But what are some ways do you help these leaders and entrepreneurs when they get in those mindsets that they just can't break out of, which we know is a stronghold of that they can't break from, of they can't rest? There it is, that they can't rest.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, most people come to me when they got diagnosed with something, or the man or the woman left them, or just something cataclysmic. I wish people would have like an preemptive strike in their mind and go, "Oh my goodness, I'm misbalanced. Let me call Denise and ask for." Like, it usually never happens. It's always repair and restoration mode. And so, in order to get people to that point of equilibrium, emotional, physical, and spiritual equilibrium, we got to stop this pendulum of, okay, I'm stressed. Let me go to Bali. Oh, let me overwork. Oh, let me, like, that's how we as human beings, we work. We always navigate from one extreme to another. We see that politically. We see that in so many areas of our life where, oh, we're Democratic, we're Republican. We don't, there's no freaking middle ground at anything. And the reason behind that is we believe of this false belief of all or nothing. So in order for people to heal, right, and how I work with people is we demolish certain lies, cultural lies from our society. I have to be everyone to everyone at all times. I have to work hard. Well, can't you work with excellence? I have to be perfect. Well, maybe you can have integrity about what you can and cannot do realistically. We start to challenge those assumptions. And then when the pendulum is going back to the center. And let's just be honest, Izzy. There's some times where there are deadlines. There are some times where you have to just be on the grind for a certain season because of certain competing priorities. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, just be at peace and at zen all the time. And if it's not filled with you, then you can just go about your business. Like, that's a freaking lie. Sometimes you need to show up and get with it. But we can build in pockets in our schedule, in our lives, that allow us to really understand, like, am I really doing this for the right reasons? Am I really doing this out of anxiety? What's really happening within me?
Even with that, I find interesting because what we fail to realize is we miss out on the fact that we so caught up in trying to get this done, that done, this done, that done. We missed the fun of it. You know, one thing I used to really struggle with back in the day was not being able to live in the moment. And it's so many experiences I had where I look back and enjoy it. But in the moment, I just couldn't enjoy it all the way. And so I'm thankful I'm in a state where I am enjoying this process, even with my business and things, because which I'll go more in depth next week about something that happened to me as somebody who was grinding, you know, constantly emailing people, constantly doing this. Hey, you need something done, need to do this, and these cold emails trying to get clients and all this stuff. And when you're showing up and being in your authentic self is when it really will find you, no matter how hard you try. And I guess I'll go more in depth next week because I want to kind of, give a little, suspense and just kind of look climax. But when you do what you're supposed to do, and I'm telling you, this is somebody who's like, I need this money, I need to pay this bill. Not for me to just, stun like my daddy. I had bills. I'm like, I have to pay this, and then I realized God didn't allow that door because he closed the door. Like, you leave one place and then he closed the door to the old. So you think, well, let me go back to what I know. Let me go back to going to education because, that's a guaranteed check. And, but then every job you apply to, no matter how qualified you were, none of them will hire you. And you getting to the point where you wondering, did somebody call somebody and say, hey, don't hire him? That's where it got that bad. So I think that enjoying the ride, and it sounds so corny and it sounds so cliche, but it really is something that we need, that's needed. Okay, so I got a few points. All right, so the first one, when we talk about how hustle culture aligns with mental health, the first one is addressing burnout and stress. It says hustle culture promotes relentless work without adequate rest, leading to chronic stress and burnout. This can result in mental health issues such as anxiety and depression. The article, How Hustle Culture Impacts Mental Health by Talkspace, explained that ignoring rest and recovery not only harms the well-being, but also reduces productivity in the long term. And that's the main thing. If you really want to be productive as you want to be, you got to do something different. Even with me, like I'm back on my weight loss thing, right? I had negated rest days. And I looked up and I never had a rest day. But as soon as I started incorporating rest days again, I started seeing results seem like just like that. And it was so to show you that overworking, it's for a season, but not forever. And a lot of us make overworking a lifestyle. The second one is challenging harmful masculine norms. It says societal expectations often equate masculinity with constant productivity and self-reliance, discouraging men from seeking help. The Good Men Project article, Toxic Masculinity and Mental Health, How Society Expectations Impact Men, highlights these pressures lead to emotional suppression and increased vulnerability to mental health issues. Looking back, if we look back in history, whether it was our dads, our grandpas, our uncles, all of them, a lot of them probably had undiagnosed mental health issues. Do you think we could agree?
Then and now. And so what I want to talk about, I want to, if you don't mind, I want
Go
to
ahead. Go ahead.
stop on this masculinity and toxic masculinity specifically. Okay. So we live in a culture right now that views masculinity in and within itself, protecting, guarding, shielding, affirming, as toxic.
Right.
Which is really weird to me because back in the days of the Crusades, back in those warring days, you better have a man that's dominating, controlling, assertive, and domineering if you wanted your town to be protected.
Right.
So it's not the issue of the traits that come inherently from people who have more testosterone. It's about the perception, it's about the culture, and it's about the mismanagement of masculine natural energies. If a man is not guided, protected, and nurtured from his guarding a male influence that observed about how he can control his impulses, he'll never learn how to harness it effectively. He never will.
You said what?
He never will. He'll join a gang.
Okay.
He'll gang bang. He'll do all this other stuff. He'll feed his lower vices. He'll have a bunch of hoes around him, but he'll never lead a society.
I think so. Let's talk about that, especially from a man's point of view with that. So, I think toxic masculinity exists? Yes, but not from the angle that the world pushes. It exists from men who think like, oh, I need to go pop off, and who you looking at crazy, let me swing on you. Oh, let me, I saw a post not years ago, I'm crazy, months ago, and it was just like, all of y'all want to go fight for our country. If you just love to go fight and be a hothead, go fight for the country. Go, you put it to good use, or go get on Zeus Network, because you get paid for that over there. But if you're not, if that's the whole toxic, I got all these women, that's how it's supposed to be. It's normal for the world, but it's actually not, because it does more harm than good than people realize. People try to argue that soul ties aren't real. They are. And also, so many people I notice in most cases who have a lot of hoes, men and women too, both. But when they do it, a lot of times their mental health is all over the place. They're never at rest emotionally, mentally. A lot of times they're on edge, and they use that to cope. So I think, but of course, like you said, being a man is not toxic. Saying men do this is not toxic, because that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it was designed. A lot of these things now. So that's why, even though I'm not an advocate, I listen to some of them. I've talked about this before. I'm not necessarily an advocate for the red pill community. I agree with a lot of their points. A lot of them I don't, because it does come from a lot of those red pill grew up without a father. So now they're trying to overcompensate, and now they created what men should be based on what they researched, because you didn't grow up that way. So, it's, but I understand why it happens. And I say that because there is another push. There's an extreme push with men the other way, where it's like, the red pill try to counteract that push that does feminize men and, soften them. So it's like two extremes, when in reality, there's the place that's in the middle, where where there is nothing wrong with expressing how you feel, but in the same breath, and I tell people all the time, everything can't bother you. So it's one thing, they said it was a meme. It was like, this generation is cooked when it says your feelings are valid. Your feelings will lie to you sometimes. Let me give an example. And I'm going to ask you, if you're
Yes.
walking up the steps,
Mhm.
somebody just happens to fall
Mhm.
and they say, "Hey, Denise, you pushed me." You're going to say, "No, I didn't." They're going to say, "Yes, you did. You pushed me. You pushed me. I know you pushed me." You're like, "I didn't. We didn't even connect." And they're very adamant about that you pushed them. Would you then respond and say, "Your feelings are valid"? Or would you say, "I'm not going to"? What would you say?
Depends on the space I'm in, right? So if I just finished arguing with somebody and then I had this encounter, I would feel a little bit more defensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm feeling at peace with myself, I would clearly say this is a mentally incapacitated person that's projecting things that are not even real. Everybody wants to think that they're going to say the most benevolent thing
Mm-hmm.
against people being belligerent, irrational, and just outright lying. But that's not the reality. We're human beings. As you mentioned earlier, our feelings lie to us, and our perceptions can even lie harder depending on what we're going through emotionally and spiritually at the time.
I like that response because if you can see this person is like, okay, you ain't here right now. I'm not even about to engage, and that's all you can do. But you still wouldn't lie to them and say, "I'm sorry, I pushed you." You would just say, "Okay, I'm gonna, you know, I'll see you later." Just get out the way because there's no rationalizing with someone who is dead set on believing something. And when I learned that, my life was much more at peace. All right, I got a few more points. So the third one is encouraging emotional expression. It says traditional masculine norms discourage emotional expression. I don't agree with that. It says this can lead to issues like depression and anxiety. It says in the article, The Mask of Masculinity, How Traditional Gender Roles Impact Male Mental Health by Uncovered Counsel, says the importance of vulnerability and emotional openness in improving mental health outcomes is discussed. And again, with expressing yourself emotionally, they try to push it like a man is just, which there's nothing wrong with crying. Now, there's a difference between crying and whining. That's the difference. But if you're expressing yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. But they make it seem like these men are just, soft and passive and weak. And that's not the case. There's nothing wrong with expressing yourself. And then the fourth one is promoting sustainable success. Go back to that success word. It says hustle culture's emphasis on overwork can lead to physical and mental health problems. The Tiger Resilience blog article, The Dark Side of Hustle Culture, states that it emphasizes the need for a balanced approach to work and life to maintain long-term well-being and avoid burnout. So, based on everything we read thus far, what is your take on some of these notes?
Honey, I can't generalize based on someone's worldview to make sweeping generalizations about how a man's supposed to live, first
That's
and
why
foremost.
that third one, I said,
Yeah.
I don't know. I get the ones that are a little tricky for conversations like this. I like that response because you say I can't for a traditional like for everybody because I want to know who wrote that. It doesn't say. It just
A
says
woman. A woman for a man.
no, definitely.
A very strong, aggressive, masculine woman for a man. Look, here's the thing. I just want people to understand. Okay. All right. I'm talking about this from a psychological standpoint. Carl Jung in it, right?
Yeah.
We are we are enclosed with different spiritual energies within our bodies. For example, I am a female. I have a weaker physical body, right? But I have a strong masculine side within me. It's called my animus. You are a man who has a physically stronger body than me, but you have a more sensitive soul. It's called the anima. Animus. It was written by Carl Jung's wife Emma Young. John Sanford made this book called Invisible Partners. If you want a more modern version of it, the point I'm trying to make of all this is that we embody complementary energies so that we can actually get stuff done in this world. And when things aren't tamed, we resort to controlling and manipulative behaviors. When a man gets mad at his woman, most of them don't start screaming and yelling. You just ghost her ass. You don't even bother. You go all passive because, oh, honey, I'll be there sitting there playing Xbox with your guys, playing Fortnite. You're not going to be dealing with it. Meanwhile, she's screaming and yelling and exerting her masculine energy untamed, whining, complaining, bitching, screaming. When I see articles about people about how things have to be done in a rigid kind of formulated way, I see a very overtly feminine, masculine presence. Because as a woman, it should be a state of flowing, freeing, receiving, not controlling. There's a time and a place to control, and there's a time and a place to be at ease and letting people be as they are. When a man is allowed to be at peace with himself and allow him to explore, ebb, flow, make mistakes, he doesn't feel the need to control. He doesn't. He just vibes where he needs to be. So when I read this stuff, I'm like rolling my, I'm like, who told you that, man? You must have been abused or controlled for you to be spilling out that garbage.
Absolutely. That, yeah, like I said, the first ones I was okay, but that third one, because they all came from different places. So, but that third one was definitely by a woman, because it's like, are you mad or?
Told you.
Yeah, it's like, you got to be mad. I'm actually gonna do some research, and I'm gonna send them like, who wrote this article? I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. All right, y'all. So now this is one of my favorite segments. I said that about all of them, but I mean about this one. I want to get into I challenge that. And in this segment, we kind of challenge some things that have been said. So we already kind of, that was a preface to the challenge that section with that situation, challenging that norm by that high traditional masculinity. And like I said, so many questions I would love to ask her. But before we get too off topic, I have to ask, and I know the answer, but I want you to really kind of go in depth. Is chasing the bag inherently wrong?
Okay, so we're going to get a little psychology again. All right. So everyone's heard of Abraham's Maslow, and they always think about the pyramid, right?
Yeah.
You know, the hierarchy of needs, and the bottom is your physical needs, and the top is your self-actualized, and you're like Oprah running around like feeding kids in Africa. Okay. But there's a lot of stuff that happens in the middle, right? There's an idea of being able to feel a sense of security. If I am able to get along with these certain people, they're not going to trash me on TikTok or Instagram. If I'm able to pay my bills on time, I'm not going to get rude messages from telemarketers, right? And then as you get that security up and up and up, you're like, wait a minute, it's more than just me and my needs. There's there's a world that's connected to me, and maybe I should make the world a crappier place by just being so self-focused. So comes a point when you need to actually hustle in the original point, not because you're just being self-focused, it's because you have to have a little self-attainment for you to be able to realize it ain't about just me.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, a lot of people don't see the big picture of their lives. And that's why they always focus on gutter level. I shouldn't say gutter level, lower level thinking. I had to re-edit it myself.
Right.
So there's a time and a place where we all have to graduate emotionally and spiritually. And that's needed and necessary. So I don't want to sit here and shame everyone who's done any type of hustling, because clearly you and I have hustled for sure, right? We learn from that. That's where we're sitting here and talking about that. It's the issue with, okay, are you ready to graduate?
Mm. And that's crazy because, like I said, when everything here comes out next week, y'all will see why like that whole term aligns. So, okay, now as someone who helps leaders obviously transform and challenges into breakthroughs, how do you guide clients in redefining success on their own terms?
For me, I can't work with anybody who's not willing to work with themselves. See, the part of transformation, it requires surrendering. It requires humility. It requires openness to learn. And if you're willing to do that, you may be receptive to receiving messages that come from spirit world, from yourself, that align more to where you're supposed to be. And that takes a lot of bravery, Izzy.
Yeah. I think I like that. I really like the whole phrase about surrendering, because I think we are so quick to try to force doors open. But I'm telling you, I am a living witness when you truly just say, God, you got it. Because I've tried everything in my own strength. And now the doors just seem like I'm trying to get them to close. There's so many opportunities now. It's crazy. So, what are some practical steps some people can take to unlearn the mindset that equates productivity with self worth?
Mm. I have Apple. I have like my husband always laughs at me. I'm the church of Apple. I got a watch, I got a computer, I got all this stuff. And one of the things that I love, they have this thing called focus.
Okay.
And what it is like literally I can block out, like even right now during our conversation, I have it focused on do not disturb. How are people not able to feel connected because they're letting everything and everyone disturb them energetically, physically, mentally? Can you allow the do not disturb button of your life? Meaning that, are you feeling like you have to multitask? Are you feeling like you have to respond to every single person that responds to you? Izzy, just yesterday, I had some kid send me this message on behalf of some minion on behalf of his boss saying, my employer has managed $600 million accounts and he's blah blah blah. You know what I did, Izzy? In the past, I would try to respond and engage, and I laughed and I deleted it and it just kept moving. Because here's the thing, energetically, allowing that discongruent space messes me up.
Right.
Do
I,
not disturb. Do not disturb. When I'm about my father's business, everything and everyone gets blocked out. And I am ruthless about it.
I love that because he said being about your father's business. Because the issue is, I just had this revelation. First of all, every season has an underlying theme because it goes based off of kind of where my life is at the moment. This season has definitely been about, we always talk about everybody can't go. That comes up constantly in different seasons. But this one has definitely been about people pleasing. And this one is even just acknowledging that with certain people, we had our time, we had our fun. But I think it's time to just let this go because you need to be around like-minded people. And you've been, and sometimes we get tired of being the front runner in our friend group. We get tired of being the one that's doing it. It's like, I'm the only one that thinks like this. So when you meet other people that think like you, okay, I'm not the only one. It's like I'm around all these people who it's like the same cycle. And to get something different, you got to do something different. And you might need to. I have one homeboy, and I don't think he does it for productive reasons. I just think he just don't want to be bothered. But his phone lives on do not disturb, and I'm getting to the point where I think that needs to be mine. But the issue that I struggled with at first, which is being honest here, like I kept checking to see if I was missing something, and I think we really need to just let it be that, and then look up and say, "Oh, I didn't even check my phone for 2 hours." You know, it's just so much more that can get done, and it's crazy.
Well, you know what? As you're saying this, you're making me think about a couple of things. The first thing I think about is the lie of FOMO, fear of missing out.
Mm-hmm.
And if the only ones that benefit from FOMO are advertisers,
Mm.
that's the only people that benefit, or the people who have low self control or poor impulse control. Those other people. So it's like, wait, I'm fueling advertisers and those with poor impulse control. I'm actually enabling them, emboldening them to contact me more. Like, think about when you get emails and then you think if you hit the unsubscribe button, then you get a flood more emails because they're like, we got a live one here. Well, the
Yeah.
exact same energy that happens in all other areas of our life. If we engage with stuff that's low energy, if anything, we will get more of it. Sometimes the way to win is to never fight at all.
Oh, I know all about that. I'm gonna say that, and then I'm gonna say one more thing. We go to the next segment. But the whole not fight at all, I know all about that because especially kind of going back to the staircase situation. When someone is irate and on 10, they looking for a problem. So the best way to give them what they're looking for is to not respond at all. And I said it on my episode that just dropped a few weeks ago. I said when people get in that rage and you don't respond, they hate it. They lose it because why are you not responding to me? Why are you not mad like me? And they'll even project in some cases to say, "Oh, you're mad. You're mad." I'm like, "No, you're mad. That's why you're doing all this." And you can barely talk because you're losing your breath. But I think that even with that whole statement about the FOMO thing and we're fueling them, that's why they're rich and we're not because they benefit from that. We don't. and we could be rich too. Some of us are. I know watching this all because I know some of y'all personally, but I think that if we really just lock in for real, if we can really just say, okay, let me dedicate this time to this, let me, silence all calls. I know people who say they don't even allow people to call them before noon. I think I need to implement that as we head into this new year.
Well, rich how? Rich monetarily? Rich, okay. If I had Infusionsoft, I can like and trigger a whole bunch of auto response messages to folk all day, every day. It's hilarious when people send me messages. They were like responding to some thing that I wrote months ago. Oh my gosh, you met me where I am. And I'm like, honey, I wrote that mess months ago. I don't remember what I wrote. Oh, just look through the feed. Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Respond back. Like there is ways for us to be able to receive money like passively without being present physically all day long.
Right. Right. And when I say rich, I really mean wealthy. I just say, rich, because I know some people that got stuff going like, those are the people I need to be around every day, really. But also, before I say anything else, this is a message to somebody. It seems small, but it's needed. Unsubscribe from those places you're not using, those businesses, the Fashion Novas, all them websites that you subscribe to. When I was trying to get jobs at one point, before I just, allow God to be God, I was trying so hard to check my emails, waiting for somebody to reach out. And every time I get an email, hey, we just got a new. I literally had to go through unsubscribe from like so many different places because you don't know how many places you subscribe to until you really just sit and look at it. All right. And let's move on to the final segment for today, which is the weekly sabbatical. And in this time, we just kind of reminisce on some things and kind of end off the conversation in a nice way. So, can you take us back? You kind of tuck us back a little further in life. We're talking about you being from DC, but take us all the way back. Like, did you always have this mindset? Like, you grew up in DC. DC is not as hustle and bustle as New York, but it definitely is still a hustle city. It's still more hustle than Austin for sure. Because I live in Houston, so I know Houston, Dallas is on the go. Austin is one of the kind of more chill cities. So how did this start as a kid? Did you used to sell lemonade? What you used to do back in the day that kind of just sparked it? Because there was always there.
My mother was a hustler, Izzy. My
Really?
mother she started off doing Mary Kay Cosmetics. My mother then pivoted to doing a flight traveling agency. She was always just hustling from one little venture to the next. And I thought to myself that maybe if I can make coin on my own without relying on an employer, I could be able to, take care of myself. But I didn't realize at the time my mother burnt relationships. So that's neither here nor there. If you want to be able to grow a business, you need to be growing within yourself mentally, emotionally, as well as growing up with people around you. That's the more advanced lesson. So I was always doing like little things. Like me and my then best friend, Victoria, we would go ahead and just selling potted plants. We go to Sears. Sears still around? I don't know. I'm dating myself.
I don't think so.
I'm sick. God, Lord have mercy. So we would go there. We selling chocolates. Go to the store, buy things on bulk. And then even when I was in college, I was working little side jobs here and there to help pay my rent while I was in college. So, and then when I started working, I was always doing something on the side. I just couldn't rely on just one income source alone. I couldn't. That's just me.
Yeah.
I think it was partially born out of trauma, but that's a different story. The point I'm trying to make is that everybody does stuff out of a birthing from some type of situation in their upbringing. That's all I'm trying to say.
No, for sure. And that's the thing. A lot of these hustle, and it's some people who grew up in those same types of trauma, but they don't have any hustle at all. And like I said, I believe everything is a good to an extent. Like, you know what I mean? Of course, we know cookies and cakes aren't healthy, but if you eat it in moderation, it's okay because they're my favorites, right? But you can't eat 2-3 slices a day. But I think so. Some hustle is good. That's why I had to challenge that section because I do believe actually wanting to secure the bag, actually wanting to get money is good. That is, not evil in itself. People misrepresent that Bible verse that says, they always say the money is the root of all evil. I'm like, y'all can't read. It says for the love. It does not say money itself. So even with that, that was always irritating to me, because I'm like, y'all really can't read, or do the first 4 words blocked out? Do you not see that? I don't know. It's always been weird. So being an entrepreneur, you're still an entrepreneur. Have you ever had like a full-time, like regular job? And if so, did you ever get in trouble a lot? Did you ever, like, how did that?
Oh yeah, I got in trouble. Like if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to not get along with people at work because you're always challenging norms.
Yeah.
That's just by nature. You're just not going to do. You're not going to get well. If you're a visionary, if you are exploring, if you're breaking things like standards, you by default will be the irritants of management. That's just I was always getting in trouble when I worked in corporate America. Like, you're not following the chain of command. I would always be talking to the boss's boss, like, listen, I'm like, why don't you work for me? Why don't you, like, because you don't have the power to make the changes that I think need to be made.
Yeah.
You say that, you're going to lose a job. Just be honest. If you are willing just to do what you're told and not be an entrepreneur, like enterprising, like now, a lot of private sectors are really wanting to have people on enterprising. But for the most part, a lot of insecure people manage other people. And then they're wondering why no one's inspired.
Oh man, I ain't gonna like that one. So, okay, now let me get into the next part. So, kind of, we briefly talked about it. Spiritually and biblically, what does the Bible say about securing the bag? So, although it doesn't necessarily secure the bag or chase the bag, but we know that this, like I said, aligns with one of the subtopics in this episode about rest and or not getting enough. Now, I know in Isaiah 62:7 talks about give God no rest. And I know that Matthew 11:28-30 says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, I will give you rest. Take upon the yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest in your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. This is an invitation for us to rest in God. When you say be about your Father's business, but really rest in God, knowing that he is going to take care of it, as crazy as it sounds. Because we'll say there have been cases where it's like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've exhausted all my resources. I've reached out to clients. I don't know if you have kind of harassed people. Hey, you need anything done? Hey, anything coming up? I did all of that.
Yeah.
And then one day, that same day, somebody said, hey, is this Izzy? I got your number from somebody I could have never even found out. This came out of nowhere. Can I, yeah. And then they had the whole conversation. Well, okay, I'm going to send, can you do this for me? I'm going to send a little extra since I'm late. The exact amount of money I needed to cover this payment that same day. So when you just really I know a lot of people who, we live in a society where, I don't believe in none of that stuff. I can do all these things on my own. You got that. Y'all got that, because I want to see where y'all going to be in 30 years, if really even 10 years. But I'm telling you, I have seen some things happen that it just don't even make sense. So I got some takes, and I got some few things I want to add. Yes. So when they talk about breaking free from the hustle, I really want to drive this point home today, if nothing else. Next week, we're going to go in depth from another angle. Was there a pivotal moment of your experience that made you realize that this hustle culture not only wasn't sustainable for you, but what was that aha moment that you needed that would really help you, like, this is it?
Being hospitalized for stress.
And people need to hear that. Let's talk about it.
Okay. And you know what? Going back to when you asked me the question earlier, were you in corporate America? I'm like, yeah, I was hospitalized while in corporate America and going through stress because I was trying to appease people who hated my guts. I can't think straight. My heart rate just dropped down to like 30 beats a minute. I'm not even there. Yeah. All because I believe that if I just worked hard enough, I was tried harder, then never make mistakes. And I was making mistakes all up and down and sideways. One of the things I remember, my husband always tells me this story, shouldn't say always, he told me this story in the past, and I'm still thinking about this today, where he said when he was a child, his brother asked him to write a paragraph perfectly about something. I don't know what it was. And every single time he would write a sentence, even like one word wrong, his brother said, repeat it. Do you think he got better each and every iteration of trying?
I would think, right?
No, it didn't. He got more stressed and more anxious, and he made more mistakes the more he tried to make it perfect. And we see it all the time where people are striving towards an ideal that even the person who created it could never even meet. So for me, I was trying to reach ideal that were never even practical nor realistic for my life, emotionally, mentally, physically. And so I've had many seasons, Izzy, in my life where I was striving and grinding and trying and like waiting for this cookie that never got it for me. Even when I hit a goal, there was always then it got moved to another pivot point. I can think about, I'll just talk about Spotify as an example. Spotify as an example, it's on my mind. Yeah. So they have this partner program, whatever, and I'm not going to hit the number. I'm not going to talk about the exact numbers because it's neither here nor there. The beginning, when it launched out the partner program, they said, in order for you to unlock some benefits or partner, you need X number of followers, right? Mm-hmm. And then when you get closer to that, like, oh no, we doubled that. So wait a minute. The goalpost is always moving. Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because we see that in real life with certain relationships where sometimes it's like you think you did those people who are never satisfied and nothing's ever good enough. It's like, okay, you did this, but you still got to get to this. Oh, you forgot to do this. It's like, it's so lame. But I think about SpongeBob, the episode many years ago, the one with Bubble Bass, and he had the pickles and he was like, still no pickles. And then he kept, and the whole time it was like, and SpongeBob was so stressed trying to make sure he got the order perfect that it was never perfect, no matter how many times he tried to do it. And I think that's even with me. I used to have, I was never diagnosed, so I don't want to diagnose myself. But looking back, I realized I believe I had some performance anxiety when I played sports because I was dealing with, the stress of trying to be perfect and trying to get this right. And so you're trying to get it right. And no matter how much skill you do have, because you're so caught up in your head, you just can never do it right because you're trying to be perfect. And that's really a real thing. And people don't even realize it. So now, as we kind of wind down for today, I have to ask, are there any specific tools and techniques you use to help your clients simplify decision-making while trying to avoid burnout?
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I wish I told myself, and I definitely tell all my people, was that challenge your beliefs. The reason why a lot of us have so much anxiety, we're prone to exhaustion, is because we're holding up standards that were neither realistic nor practical.
Okay.
And then what are you going to do about that? It's not enough to acknowledge it. Then what next? Are you going to keep it up? For what? For your dead mama? For cousin Jimmy, who's been gone and it's about his own agenda? For why?
Yeah. So what advice would you also give to someone who's struggling with the fear of failure when trying to slow down?
Fear of failure. Okay, so fears, forecasting events appearing to be real, right? And what's failure? Expectations that may or may not be conducive to your own mental, physical, or emotional well-being. So when I'm talking to people who are fearing failure, basically I'm asking you, where's your crystal ball at? Where's your clairvoyant skills that you told me you cleared through the fog and the mist and saw that this didn't go perfectly according to plan, that you were a screw up in life? Who told you that people don't have part two?
I like that. People who don't have a part two. Okay. So we've broken down success. There's many definitions, but I loved your definition of that and culture. So I have to ask, it's kind of not too big for you. How do you envision the concept of success evolving in the next 10 years as more people push back against hustle culture?
This is for the sexy grown folk in the room. I mean, I'm serious. Not everybody who hears the message is going to take that trip.
Yeah.
The road is wide for those who are focused on what they see horizontally. And it
Yeah.
will to your peril, not you, Izzy, but
Yeah.
so if you are taking the narrow path, if you are brave enough to challenge what society, your mama, your cousin Jimmy, all them people said, right? And you're willing to be successful, you are actually asking yourself, what am I equipped for, inspired, motivated, encouraged to do that's unique to me that helps other people grow? I didn't say get rich.
Yeah.
I didn't say get famous. Other people grow.
Mm-hmm.
And the riches and the fulfillment will be provided. That's success to me. And what's that look like in the environment? Well, that looks like a lot of people not being neurotic. It means a lot less Jada Pinkett Smith talking about their business on shows. It means a lot less drama on Page 6. It talks a lot less topics on The Breakfast Club. That's what it looks like. It's going to put a lot of people out of business.
I just had a rant about that the other day. These people who do the gossip pages make sense, right? They've been around since the beginning of time. But it's more so the ones who are quick to announce, who claim to be like Christian or these spiritual people, because everybody's a Christian, and they talk about these things, and it's like every time something comes up, they're the first one to give you the breakdown on it. And it's like, what is the purpose of doing this? Because at some point, I don't think you're doing this to warn the people. I believe you're doing this because this pays the bills. And like I said, and when you said a lot of people will be out of business, that's what that made me think of. Because if you stop doing that today, you wouldn't get you would get no money, and you wouldn't, because you made your business the gossip, the tea corner, the tea spot, the teapot. All right. Question or challenge for the audience. How has hustle culture affected your mental health? Take a moment to reflect. And what's one small change you can make today to prioritize balance and well-being over productivity? I forgot the typo, whatever. Anything else you want to add, you want to put a spotlight on before we go today?
Yes. I want to build upon that, Izzy, and saying, how has that served you and your community? How has the hustle mindset served you?
Exactly.
And your mental, your physical, your emotional. I talk to people all the time, Izzy, like, oh man, I have migraines. Oh, I got back pains. Oh, I got problems related with my daughter or my spouse, whoever. I'm like, okay, so was that worth working 14-hour days wearing astronaut diapers so you didn't have to go up and use the bathroom? Was that worth you neglecting taking good care of your physical health instead of cruising by and eating food that came out of a paper bag with a golden arch on it? I'm just saying.
We don't want them to see you cease and desist.
I said the golden arches, okay? I didn't name
Yeah.
names.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, good stuff, y'all. So this is an after Christmas special. Next week is the season finale, and the episode we'll kind of continue this conversation more from a case study aspect. I'll have some videos and things, and some other things that we can pick apart. So thank you for coming on today. It's been a great conversation. A lot of gems, y'all. This is one you would have to listen to, I say, twice. The first time, let it play, and the second time, listen to it and have like a notebook, just so that you can really get some things going. That is all we have for today. PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are. Make your mind up. Don't let it make you. And also always remember, I love us for real.